not on cooperation in the field of youth.
Кыргыз Республикасынын Маданият, Маалымат жана Жаштар саясаты министри жаштар саясаты чөйрөсүндө өкмөттөр аралык кызматташуу боюнча ноталар менен алмашуу үчүн чакырылат.
Thank you, honorable ministers.
Министрлерге ыраазычылык билдиребиз.
YB Datuk Seri Utama, you may now take your seats.
Малайзиянын тышкы иштер министри өз ордун алат.
May I now invite the Minister of Science, Higher Education and Innovation of the Kyrgyz Republic and the Minister of Higher Education of Malaysia for the MOU exchange on cooperation in the field of higher education.
Кыргыз Республикасынын Илим, жогорку билим берүү жана инновациялар министри жана Малайзиянын жогорку билим берүү министри жогорку билим берүү тармагында кызматташуу боюнча өкмөттөр аралык өз ара түшүнүшүү жөнүндө меморандум менен алмашуу үчүн чакырылат.
Thank you, honorable ministers.
Министрлерге ыраазычылык билдиребиз.
May I now invite the Minister of Health of the Kyrgyz Republic and the Minister of Health of Malaysia for the MOU exchange on cooperation in the field of health.
Кыргыз Республикасынын саламаттыкты сактоо министри менен Малайзиянын саламаттыкты сактоо менен алмашуу үчүн чакырылат.
Thank you, honorable ministers.
Министрлерге ыраазычылык билдиребиз.
Next, may I invite the Minister of Justice of the Kyrgyz Republic and Chairman of Institute of Strategic and International Studies, ISIS Malaysia, for the MOU exchange between NISI under the President of the Kyrgyz Republic and ISIS Malaysia.
Кыргыз Республикасынын юстиция министри жана улуттук стратегиялык изилдөөлөр институтунун директору жана Малайзиянын стратегиялык жана эл аралык изилдөөлөр институтунун төрагасы ведомстволор аралык өз ара түшүнүшүү жөнүндө меморандум менен алмашуу үчүн чакырылат.
Thank you, Excellencies.
Министрлерге ыраазычылык билдиребиз.
Finally, may I invite the President of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of the Kyrgyz Republic and the President of the National Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Malaysia for the MOU exchange between the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of the Kyrgyz Republic and NCCIN.
Кыргыз Республикасынын Соода өнөр жай палатасынын президенти жана Малайзиянын улуттук Соода өнөр жай палатасынын президенти аталган палаталардын ортосундагы өз ара түшүнүшүү жөнүндө меморандум менен алмашуу үчүн чакырылат.
Thank you, Excellencies.
Аталган президенттерге ыраазычылык билдиребиз.
That concludes our exchange of documents ceremony for today.
Ушуну менен бүгүнкү эки тараптуу документ алмашуу аземи соңуна чыкты.
Next, we shall proceed with the signing and exchange of the joint statement. It gives us a great honor to invite His Excellency Sadyr Zhaparov and the Honorable Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim to sign and exchange the joint statement between Malaysia and the Kyrgyz Republic on enhancing cooperation towards the strategic partnership.
Азыр биргелешкен билдирүүгө кол коюу жана алар менен алмашуу аземине өтөбүз. Кыргыз Республикасы менен Малайзиянын ортосундагы келечектеги гүлдөп өнүгүү үчүн стратегиялык өнөктөштүккө багытталган кызматташтыкты чыңдоо жөнүндө биргелешкен билдирүүгө кол коюп жана алмашуу үчүн урматтуу Саdyr Нуркожоевич Zhaparov мырзага жана ардактуу дата Сери Анвар Ибрагим мырзага кезек сунабыз.
Thank you, Mr. President and Prime Minister.
Урматтуу президент менен урматтуу премьер-министрге ыраазычылык билдиребиз.
Next, our joint press conference will commence with a statement by the Honorable Prime Minister.
Азыр эки тараптын биргелешкен пресс-конференциясы урматтуу премьер-министрдин билдирүүсү менен башталат.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and a very good afternoon. Excellency Seri Zhaparov, President of the Kyrgyz Republic, and members of the delegation, ladies and gentlemen, it gives us a pleasure to welcome our dear friend, President Zhaparov, to Malaysia. This is the first official visit after 30 years, and which means that we are both committed to enhancing bilateral relations in diplomacy, in trade and investments, in various collaborations, which include, of course, educational, cultural research. I must express again my profound gratitude because when I visited your great country, beautiful, I say one of the few countries that you have 4 seasons at the same time, and the splendid hospitality, vibrant culture, and extremely friendly, both by President Zhaparov, his team, and the cultural vibrancy is seen in some of these programs. And for my colleagues, the ministers, you should visit the yuk, the special tent, traditional brilliance of architecture. They can fold, and that explains the strength, the traditional strength of the people of Kyrgyzstan. And I think the yuk, of course, represents the sentiment of the president himself, to showcase that we are really friends beyond all these diplomatic and trade and investment ventures that we are committed to. And we discuss, of course, the issue of Islamic banking, halal, construction, financial arrangements, and programs, including the setting up of Islamic banks and common facilities to be accorded to ensure that these investments can be further enhanced. There will be follow-up meetings by our ministers. You have brought key ministers to Malaysia, and my colleagues will certainly respond to that. More as in terms of securing better understanding and friendship, but also to ensure that the bilateral programs, projects in terms of trade investments can continue. And then, of course, the ecosystem of the halal, and your proposal, President Zhaparov, of the halal cooperation action plan. This will all be further explored. Of course, you have this great capacity in terms of hydropower, green energy, renewable energy, which Malaysia would certainly be very interested to understand, study, and also benefit. And we also have gone through some discussions on collaboration in terms of research, exchanges among lecturers and scholars and students. And we welcome your students here, and we'll also take this opportunity to also have some student exchange program, because our understanding is to secure real collaboration is to have people-to-people appreciation and understanding of one another, their political system, the economic potential, and the cultural vibrancy. The MTCP program will, of course, continue, technical cooperation, and our institutions, of course, will be available for you to identify people to be trained, and we would certainly be more appreciative. We can also have these exchanges with you in Bishkek. Tourism, what else you can offer? You have these beautiful mountains and springs and lakes. In exchange, we have beautiful beaches. So we certainly welcome your people of Kyrgyzstan to come and swim in our beaches, because we have our beaches in equatorial climate is available to you throughout the year. As long as you have a minimal attire you put on, and you can swim all the time. And then there's collaboration on health, which both our ministers of health will certainly discuss. And we have signed these MOUs. And the good thing, President Zhaparov, is that now we sign, and the evening we'll have a follow-up meetings. This is one of the most efficient manner in terms of bilateral relations. And I would certainly look forward to this collaboration in terms of digital transformation, cybersecurity, and semiconductors and AI. But I think the challenge is, of course, to ensure that the effective execution of the planned programs and projects. We did discuss some of the international issues. We did touch on Afghanistan, with the intention to embrace Afghanistan into the international community with certain, of course, observations. I share your views on that because as a country closer to Afghanistan, you have better understanding, and we would certainly benefit from your advice and views on this. We also referred to mainly the issue of Gaza, Palestine, and would want Israel to stop this aggression, colonization, and genocide, and to provide security and justice to the people of Gaza who have suffered for far so long and continue to suffer because of the failure of the international community to observe basic human rights and the contradiction and hypocrisy in many of the Western countries when it comes to atrocities inflicted upon the people of Palestine and Gaza. I briefed the President on my long discussions with the President of Iran yesterday, and in our support to secure peace, our support to the right of the Iranian authorities to respond to the aggression by Israel, and to ensure that the peace is fair, and the amicable resolution means that countries in the Middle East and the Arab world maintain their security without this aggression by Israel. I also managed to speak to the Emir of Qatar, expressing our concern because of the conflict, but more so to thank them for the initiative, for their diplomatic skills in securing peace and ceasefire between Israel and Iran. And this morning, as I mentioned to you, I also received a personal message from Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman supporting this ceasefire and ensuring that all countries, particularly Muslim countries, support peace and condemn the continued aggression by Israel. So again, President Seri Zhaparov, thank you very much for this great opportunity. And as I said, President Zhaparov, we take you as a friend, and I sat with him like traditional Kyrgyz people in the tent. I thought we would continue our lunch there, but then since we have work, we have to come here. But I thought it would be great you can have lunch in that yuk instead of having lunch here. So again, Rahmat, for your friendship, for your encouragement, for your support, and I value this. And on behalf of my colleagues and the people of Malaysia, we thank you, Rahmat.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Statement.
Dear Prime Minister, dear ladies and gentlemen, distinguished members of the media. First of all, I sincerely thank Mr. Anwar Ibrahim, Prime Minister of Malaysia, for the invitation to pay an official visit and for the warm, hospitable welcome he has shown us. It is a great honor for us to come to the constantly developing Malaysian land, known for its outstanding achievements. This year, Kyrgyz-Malaysian diplomatic relations celebrated 33 years. Mr. Anwar Ibrahim's visit to Bishkek last May is written in history with golden letters, raising and strengthening the high level of trust as never before. Continuing the pages of history, Kyrgyzstan's official visit to Malaysia at the highest level in 30 years was a clear indication that the partnership between the two countries has risen to a new high level. We focused today's negotiations broadly to reinforce these promising steps in practice. As a result, we signed a joint statement as well as a number of important documents. Through these documents, we are expanding political, trade and investment ties and creating a strong impetus for strengthening cultural ties. Based on the directions contained in the documents, Kyrgyzstan, located in the heart of Central Asia, offers unique opportunities for joint projects. We continue to pursue sustainable reforms aimed at revitalizing the business environment and are ready for mutually beneficial cooperation with Malaysian partners in energy, tourism, agriculture, the digital economy and banking. Malaysia's world-leading halal industry starts apart. It is in this area that we see opportunities to develop joint standards and enter new markets by diversifying production. At the same time, the topic of green economy and sustainable development remains a key issue for both sides. Dear media representatives, more than 90% of electricity in Kyrgyzstan is generated by hydropower plants. Therefore, we invite Malaysian investors to participate in strategic projects. Along with industry, we also attach a great importance to partnership in the educational sphere. We highly appreciate the conditions created for Kyrgyz students to study in Malaysian universities and are interested in further increasing efforts to expand academic exchanges and joint programs. I believe it is necessary to intensify interparliamentary dialogue as a strong institutional support for the partnership. In addition, I note the importance of strengthening coordination with international organizations and promoting common regional and global initiatives. We intend to deepen the traditional experience of mutual support between Kyrgyzstan and Malaysia in multilateral formats. Dear ladies and gentlemen, our meeting today has strengthened the friendship between our countries and opened a wide path for mutually beneficial projects. I highly appreciate the personal contribution of Mr. Anwar Ibrahim to strengthening Kyrgyz-Malaysian relations and once again express my sincere gratitude for the fruitful negotiation. I believe that the results of my official visits to Malaysia will contribute to further deepening of bilateral relations between Kyrgyzstan and Malaysia and bring comprehensive cooperation based on mutual trust to a new level. I have invited dear media representatives. Kyrgyzstan expresses its deep concern about escalation of tensions which pose a serious threat to further destabilizing the situation in the Middle East. We call on the parties to refrain from actions that could further escalate the situation in order to resolve the existing situation peacefully. Unfortunately, the tragic events in Gaza Strip continue. As a member state of the United Nations, I believe that we are obliged to seek a collective response to this problem and resolve it peacefully. In turn, the Kyrgyz Republic supports the concrete efforts for the international community, primarily the United Nations Security Council. These efforts should be aimed at prompt and complete cessation of hostilities, addressing the humanitarian crisis in Gaza Strip, initiating a political dialogue and peacefully resolving the Palestinian-Israeli conflict in accordance with the United Nations resolutions on the basis of principles of 2 states for 2 peoples. We recognize and support the right of Palestinian people to self-determination, to establish their own state, and to join United Nations as a full member. Dear Mr. Prime Minister, I invite you once again with a state visit to our country. I call our diplomatic members to set a visit. Until then, see you in good health. Thank you very much.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we have now concluded our exchange of documents ceremony and joint press conference and shall now proceed to our next event at Banquet Hall, Seri Perdana Complex.
Урматтуу айымдар жана мырзалар, ушуну менен эки тараптуу документтер менен алмашуу жана кол коюу аземи жана дагы эки тараптын биргелешкен пресс-конференциясы соңуна чыкты. Катышуучуларды Сери Perdana комплексиндеги банкет залында өтүүчү иш-чарабызга чакырабыз.
Announcing the departure of His Excellency, the President of the Kyrgyz Republic and the Honorable Prime Minister.
Урматтуу Кыргыз Республикасынын президентинин жана урматтуу Малайзиянын премьер-министринин биргелешкен билдирүүгө кол коюу аземи да биргелешкен пресс-конференцияга катышуусу да соңуна чыкты.